Hi everybody, I read 47 books in 2023. We read so that we can experience other lives, because our own life is so small and fleeting. This is the best book I read in 2023. It is called Old Goriot, often translated as Father Goriot, or variations on that. It's written by Honoré de Balzac. Balzac. This is just one piece of his massive human comedy, which contains, I don't know how many novels and short stories. I was really surprised by the immediacy and the relatability of his characters. This is kind of like a retelling in a sense, not a retelling, but there's similarities to King Lear in that there's the father and the ungrateful daughters. He was writing at a time of huge upheaval and a lot of change. Capitalism driving all sorts of changes in the hierarchies. Our main character we follow, Rastignac, is trying to figure out how to fit into this world. And, he's trying to borrow money from his family so he can continue to live in this lifestyle in Paris. And he lives in this horrible boarding house. He has to go mingle with all the fancy French people and try to fit into high society, so he's just taking all this money from his family, which I guess he does because he wants to basically become someone's mistress. His hope is sort of to become some fancy Parisian woman's lover, basically, and get his own apartment. It's so interesting. It is like a tragic story, but there's a lot of humor, and just the details are amazing. You read the first, 10 pages, and just the descriptions of the boarding house are fantastic. I mean, this is one of Balzac's probably most famous and well-read books. Currently reading Cousin Bet. The character of Goriot is actually, he's just like so doting of a father and just gives his daughters whatever they want, and they're bad daughters, but he's also like not a good father because it's all from like a self-serving place of trying to always please them and give them everything they want because he wants to be a good father. It results in his own poverty, and he just comes across as foolish. The last 50 pages are like high melodrama, just kind of soul-crushing. It's just fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Balzac. I mean, who knew? This young up-and-comer. Before we get into the next one, I want to talk about something. It's the sponsor of the video. This video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Nadia and I actually have used HelloFresh before in the past and really enjoyed it, so I was really happy they wanted to work with us. HelloFresh is here to kickstart a new year of nutritious and delicious recipes and to beat the morning blues with free breakfast. When you join HelloFresh, you'll get free breakfast for life while your subscription is active. We're talking one delicious breakfast item packed in a big green HelloFresh box for ever. Now that's something to wake up early for. Am I right? Everyone's trying to revamp their eating habits in 2024 and let HelloFresh be your guide. Have a wholesome 2024 with health-forward options like Calorie Smart and Protein Smart recipes. I don't know if you guys know this, but Nadia and I don't eat meat, but HelloFresh has plenty of meat-free options. The stuff is easy to prepare, it's really good, and it tells you how long it's going to take to make it. Don't let recipe boredom keep you from reaching your goals. Give HelloFresh a try and choose from 30+ Calorie Smart and Protein Smart recipes each week, packed with fresh ingredients. Everything arrives pre-portioned and right at your doorstep for less hassle. The easiest cooking experience I've ever had. Click the link in the description or use my code and get free breakfast for life, one breakfast item per box while subscription's active. The code to use is POGMCT free. Take advantage of some great meals while you can. All right. Back to the video. Next up, 8 Million Ways to Die. This is a book by Lawrence Block. It's part of his Matthew Scudder series. I read this earlier in the year. This is, I think, the 5th in the series, but I feel like this is the most fleshed out, well-developed of the stories. Cop turned private detective in New York City. Nothing super revolutionary about it, but I think the tone is very striking for the time it was written. 8 Million Ways to Die focuses mostly on this character's alcoholism, and it's done in a very realistic way, and the mystery is fantastic. Lawrence Block can really sketch a character so well in such concrete language that it feels like real people, you're encountering in these streets. The last lines of the book were just really moving. I had loved these Scudder books a lot, but it wasn't until 8 Million Ways to Die when I thought, wow, this is actually a perfect book. It's really, really good. I would recommend starting with The Sins of the Father, but you could probably just jump in with this one. A Stab in the Dark is also really good. I would like to talk about a book called The Seventh. Some of you may know that I've been diving into the Parker series, which is a classic crime series spanning 24 books, I believe. I read, probably 19 of them last year. They're quick, they're hard-boiled, they go through the decades, really. I mean, they were begun in the 60s and didn't end until the author, Donald Westlake, passed in 2008. They're incredible, and I feel like if you enjoy David Fincher's The Killer, you would especially find them interesting. Because we're following a character who is supposedly the toughest, meanest person. He's kind of a sociopath at times in the series, especially in the first book in the series. But he's so committed to the job, to the heist. He's a professional. And that's what these books are all about, is about like professionalism. The worst characters, the bad guys in the series, the traitors, the people who mess up the job, they're amateurs. Anyways, I just wanted to pick one to talk about, and I think it's my favorite. I don't know, there's a few that linger. I love when Parker goes on revenge mode. You have certain books that are just following the setup, the heist, the aftermath, like The Score. That's a good one. But the seventh really follows the guy who messes up the job and how Parker has to figure it out. And he becomes sort of a detective. The action in the book is fantastic. We see new sides of Parker. I mean, I think what's so remarkable about the books is that we're able to stay interested in Parker as a character when there's not much going on under the hood, you know. But we're seeing him through the eyes of all of these wonderfully drawn characters, the good guys, the bad guys, the cops. Fantastic stuff in the seventh. So if you're going to check out a Parker, I would check out The Score or the seventh. And now for something completely different. Larry McMurtry, moving on. I really enjoy Larry McMurtry. He wrote Lonesome Dove, famously, probably his most famous book, The Last Picture Show. I picked an interesting book. This is one of his earlier books. I haven't seen many talk about it. Long book. I mean, my copy is 830-something pages, but pretty sure a lot of paperbacks are 1,000 and more pages. I feel like McMurtry and Balzac share similar interests, especially when creating really believable, rich characters and just letting the world spin around them and not worrying so much about plot. McMurtry is able to make basically a novel about failure of a marriage into something so gripping, and it drags a little bit in the middle. But the book really should be called Patsy Carpenter. She's the main character, but we get to see other characters' perspectives. It's weird because it feels like nothing happens in the book, but also so much does. I was debating whether to finish this book because it was taking so long. I think I started it in like September and I finished it in December. I kept coming back to it because the prose is so clean, and McMurtry has so many great little insights, and is just such a good observer of human nature. Things he picks up on in relationships, in the way characters are thinking and feeling. So precise, and you just go like, man, he must know somebody. These must be real people because they feel so real. You know, they're not remarkable characters, you know. At one point in the book, after all the drama happens, our lead character, she's reading Anna Karenina and is going like, wow, this is really high drama. This is someone's life. Like, what is my life even? Like, what is huge and emotional about my life that I've been treating it as such? And eventually I got into the groove that the point of the book was that there isn't much that's happening, that a lot of people are kind of stuck in their own ways. A lot of the biggest changes in our lives happen when we aren't even paying attention. And it's slow, and things just move on and slip into new phases. You feel like the characters are dragging McMurtry along, and it's never the opposite. It never feels like McMurtry's going, well, we need this character to do this. No, they're their own entities. They're their own things. That's why I feel like it's so much in the vein of like 19th century novelists. And I think it's funny sometimes when people compare Larry McMurtry to Cormac McCarthy just because they wrote about the Southwest or wrote Westerns sometimes. They couldn't be more different. First off, McMurtry wrote great female characters. I don't know if McCarthy ever did, and while I love Cormac McCarthy, you know, especially just from a prose level, McMurtry is totally different, completely accessible, describing the interior lives of his character. It's so precise, so realistic. He just has an ability to get inside someone's, not even their brain, but just their gut. If you're a little daunted by a book of this length and you want something similar, check out All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers, which is an unofficial sequel to this, but is sort of like a prequel. A little overlap. You could read it and there's some similar themes, but it's about like a young writer, but it's much shorter, so you could read that and see if, you know, dip your toes in the water. Anyways, highly recommend. Moving on. Time to move on. Finally, I couldn't talk about my favorite books of 2023 without mentioning John D. MacDonald. I mean, a lot has been written about, but I feel like he's fallen out of favor somewhat in popularity, mostly because of sexism that's common in a lot of his books, unfortunately. But he was a great pulp writer. He wrote tons of really fantastic novels, in the 50s and 60s before hitting it big with the Travis McGee series. Travis McGee, I'm a little iffy on right now. I enjoyed the first book, but there is issues of just like old man yelling at cloud syndrome. I love his prose. I love his ability to get into characters' heads. He was able to like do a lot of different kinds of things. So Bordertown Girl, I'm picking this just as an example of a great one to read. It's actually 2 novellas. The first novella, which is called Bordertown Girl, reads more like a script, like an action like script about man on the run, seedy criminal stuff going on, sort of action packed. There's a lot going on, and there's less of that like internal nuance. It's fun. It's like a fun read, but it's more plot heavy and less internal. The second one, though, is called Linda, and man, Linda is just an incredible noir story. A man and a wife and a murder, and they're friends. I don't want to reveal anything, but it's just the perfect kind of hard-boiled story, double indemnity type of tale that is so heartbreaking and ruthless, fantastically described. Damn, wow, how is this not a movie, Some John D. MacDonald stories have been made into movies, most notably Cape Fear, originally titled The Executioners. That's an okay book. Read this. Read Bordertown Girl and Linda. Anyways, I want to thank everyone for making 2023 an amazing year. I don't talk about books as much as I used to, but it's still my passion, and I'm never going to quit. It was actually an amazing year for reading this year, and I'm really grateful to everyone who reached out and who still wants to chat about books. It really means a lot. Anyways, what are your favorite books that you read? Is there anything that you think I should read? Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a splendid 2024. Good luck. Take care. Bye-bye.